What's up, Cox? It's the hater back again. It's Friday night. It's been the second or third Friday in a row that I haven't gone out. I usually just hang out with my girlfriend on Fridays and go out with my friends on Saturdays. But earlier this morning, I was thinking to myself, man, that's weird. Like, I used to go out every Friday when I was in college. And even in law school, I would go out every Friday, basically. So, shut up, Windows assistant. Anyways, so, yeah, that's kind of weird. But I stayed in tonight, and I was watching some TV, chilling, got some food, got a smoothie. It's a good day, you know? And I started thinking to myself, should I do a SmackDown review that no one's going to care about? Here's a SmackDown review. NXT showed up, and then nothing happened, motherfuckers. Watch out for the next pay-per-view, which comes in a few days. So this was a complete throwaway SmackDown, just like NXT and Raw have been throwaway shows, just to further this like brand supremacy thing. So I figured, what can I do instead? You know, I was feeling a little bit verbose, so I figured I'd say a couple of things. So I decided to make a video. This is something that's been on my mind recently, fuckers. Since wrestling is, in my opinion, in the worst shape it's been, to the point where I finally decided to start a YouTube channel, I figured it was only apropos, you know what I'm saying, to do a list of the top 10, or not top 10, but the worst 10 things in wrestling right now, which will include TNA, some New Japan, AEW, motherfucker, remember them? And of course, everyone's favorite, the WWE. All right, without further ado, we're going to go down the list. We're going to start with number 10, which is the 10th worst thing. So it's the best one on this list. So, you know, take that for what it is. All right, so at number 10, we have The Fiend, motherfuckers. The Fiend is the 10th worst thing that's going on in wrestling right now. Now, a lot of people like The Fiend. This guy that I know, he was telling me, he's like, I love The Fiend. He's just so different. And, you know, he's a waiter at this place that I hang out at. So I'm like, I don't want this guy to spit in my coffee or something, you know? So I'm like, yeah, you know, like, The Fiend is different. And as soon as he left, I was like thinking to myself, man, is this guy retarded or something? You know what I mean? How is The Fiend different? It's the same shit. When Bray Wyatt first appeared, everyone was losing their minds. They're like, oh, this guy's great. This guy's charismatic. He's good in the ring. He used to be Husky Harris. Now he's Bray Wyatt. You know, he's got like two big dudes with him. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, there's something there for sure, you know? And that's when NXT was like on Hulu, and I was just starting to watch NXT. I've been watching Raw, of course, for a long, long time. But NXT I hadn't really been watching. That's when I started tuning in a little bit. And I saw these guys, and eventually, like, they didn't really do much at NXT. Harper and Rowan became NXT tag champs, and eventually they moved to the main roster. And as soon as they debuted and they attacked Kane, I knew they were going nowhere. Because Kane, at that point, was like in the Dolph Ziggler role of he's just there to just job out to the next big deal, you know? So the only way that the Wyatt family would have worked is if they came in and they attacked like Cena or something, right? And then Bray Wyatt goes on and beats Cena clean. In order to establish someone dominant, you need them to go through someone that is dominant already. You can't have someone like, this is the problem with people like Lars Sullivan and the Viking Raiders. You know, they come in, they beat up Lucha House Party, and I'm supposed to be afraid of them. Like, who gives a shit? It's just like when Baron Corbin in NXT was beating jobbers in like 8 seconds, and then he goes to the main roster, and now he has like problems beating Cedric Alexander, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. It's a bad booking decision, and Bray Wyatt was doomed to fail from the beginning. Now, a lot of people were like, oh, this is so great. You know, Bray Wyatt's awesome. But I'm just like, all right, like I'll wait it out. You know, I'll see where they go with this, right? And Bray Wyatt just kept coming out being like, Sister Abigail, man, she's scary. My brothers, or my sons or whatever the fuck they were, I mean, his stepsons, you know what I'm saying? Rowan and Eric Rowan and Luke Harper. You know, they were chastised, they were shunned until Sister Abigail took them in. So you're thinking to yourself, all right, there's going to be some sort of revelation here. Like a lot of people were thinking like, oh, maybe there's going to be a female wrestler that is Sister Abigail. I'm just like, that's retarded. That makes no sense. Sister Abigail's supposed to be like their motherly figure. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. But you expect something to happen, right? You expect some sort of like a good guy face character to go after Bray Wyatt and be like, hey man, like what's this all about, while investigating and having matches with him. And then Bray Wyatt having like a sort of reveal. When Kane debuted, he was clearly delineated as the Undertaker's younger brother who was burned in a fire and resents Undertaker as a result. So you knew what you were dealing with. And then every other sub storyline with him was always in the background of that. And then Kane shifted around a couple of times, became kind of like a comedy character for a while, you know, then a monster again, then he became like Citizen Kane, all this other stupid shit. So, but at least there was a storyline behind Kane. With Bray Wyatt, it was just he's a cult leader, and I'm supposed to be intrigued by like this cult and Sister Abigail, but you don't tell me anything about them. Like, people were like, Bray Wyatt cuts such great promos. No, he doesn't, motherfuckers. He comes out there and he's like, you know, the fire burns deep, and like it burns like my hate for you, Randy. Yeah, anyone but you, Roman. Shut the fuck up. Like, what is this nonsense, right? So he was just this complete failed character. He just came in. He was a scary guy. He would go after people that were superior to him. He'd terrorize them for like a day and a half, and then he'd job out to them at the pay-per-view. That's what happened with him and Rollins. That's what happened with him and fucking Roman Reigns, Cena, Undertaker, everybody. Like, nobody was really afraid of this guy, you know? Like, they had some like weird kid come out and sing, and John Cena's like, oh my God, like, you converted the kids against me. And then John Cena wanted to beat his ass. So what the, like, why was I supposed to be intrigued by Bray Wyatt? So anyways, then The Fiend started. I'm going a little too long for this one, but it's an important one. Then The Fiend appeared, and people were like, wow, this is so great. It's so different. Bray Wyatt really gets it. And I'm like, dude, this is the same exact thing as The Fiend. It's the same, I mean, as normal Bray Wyatt. It's the same exact thing. The only difference is that now he also thinks he's like a children's character and wears a mask. That's the only difference. The character is the exact same thing. You don't know what the fuck is going on. It's just this guy that sometimes is evil, and sometimes he's like a creepy children's show character, which, by the way, makes no sense whatsoever. Like, why would this guy, like, kayfabe-wise, why would a children's show character be hired by WWE? And why would like Vince McMahon and like Kevin Dunn and the people in charge of the production let him do these little vignettes, right? It makes no sense. But anyways, you know, we suspend disbelief for a little bit, and then we're still left with the same character. Just a guy, some scary guy who people are afraid of. The same way people were afraid of Bray Wyatt, they're afraid of The Fiend. And the same thing's going to happen. Eventually, someone's going to beat his ass, and the mystique will be gone. Well, as soon as The Fiend, as a character, as soon as The Fiend loses once, it's over, man. It's done. If he can be beaten by a normal wrestler, then there's no reason why another wrestler will be afraid of him. You know, he's the same fucking guy as Bray Wyatt. So he is the 10th worst thing that's happening in wrestling today, motherfucks. Number 9. This one is kind of over, but it still needs to be mentioned. Kofi Kingston title run. This was preposterous. Now, when Kofi Kingston debuted, I was like, I like this guy. You know, he's a charming guy. He had like a fun little gimmick where he was Jamaican. You know, he was entertaining, and he was athletic. So I'm like, all right, like, I can get behind this guy. Then eventually, the writing on the wall started to reveal itself that this guy was nothing more than a mid-card act. And I'm like, all right, cool. You know, like, as soon as you see him in the ring, you're like, he's a small guy. This guy should never be WWE champion. But nonetheless, you know, they gave him like the Mark Henry run where like, oh, except, of course, Mark Henry earned it, and Mark Henry's also fucking Mark Henry, and Kofi Kingston's like 180 pounds. But anyways, after Mustafa Ali got like injured or whatever, they replaced Kofi Kingston, and then as a tag team guy, he did well in like a gauntlet match, and then he did well in like 7 more gauntlet matches, which earned him a title shot eventually, and he became champion at WrestleMania, motherfuckers. This is the equivalent of having like Al Snow and Steve Blackman. Remember Al Snow and Steve Blackman, motherfuckers? Head cheese. Having them be a tag team, right? Win the tag titles once or twice, and then I don't know, in the Armageddon Hell in a Cell thing, let's say Undertaker gets injured, and they're like, oh, we got nobody else. Let's put in Steve Blackman, right? Steve Blackman goes in there. He does well in that match, and this somehow leads to Steve Blackman main eventing or being one of the main matches at WrestleMania. That is preposterous. This should never have happened. And the fact is that WWE understands that this never should have happened. That's why Kofi Kingston immediately, as soon as he lost in like the shortest match ever, basically, immediately after that, they shifted him. They shifted him back. They switched him back to a tag team guy within a day. He has no desire. I don't think I've ever seen a guy lose the WWE title and not want to get it back. This is the only time this has happened because everybody understands that this was a mistake. This should have never happened. You know, that doesn't mean that Kofi Kingston completely sucks. I mean, he's better than most people on the card. Don't get me wrong, but come on. He should never be WWE champion. Number 8, motherfuckers. New Japan's overhyped nonsense comes in at number 8. New Japan is a decent little company. That's right, motherfuckers. Little. All right? They're not bad. I don't have anything against New Japan. I have watched a few of their shows here and there, and I have been entertained for the most part. The problem here is that it's overhyped by the likes of Dave and some of the wrestlers that used to be in New Japan, like Gallows and fucking Kenny Omega. You know what I mean? It's the assertion that New Japan is somehow putting out the best wrestling in the world is ridiculous. Their main guy, the guy who has broken like every record there is to break in New Japan, Okada, is best known, motherfuckers, for his brief run as Okado in TNA, where he had a cameraman / Kato gimmick and was a jobber, right? So to now have me believe that this guy who's still like in his early 30s or like late 20s is now the best wrestler in the world, just like Adam from What Culture said that he's going to be the best wrestler in the world in 5 years as well, it's ridiculous. That's absurd. So New Japan, I don't blame them. I blame the fans, motherfuckers, which is another reason coming down the line. As a matter of fact, let's just plug it in here at reason number 7. The fans, motherfucker. The fans are the 7th worst reason. You could argue that the fans are the number 1 reason. I just put it in here for a segue. But the fans are definitely a problem. The idea that fans should control what happens on TV and on the wrestling shows is preposterous. When I was a small child, I remember watching some random match. It was like I used to hate Triple H when I was a kid because he was a heel and I was a kid. So I liked The Rock, I liked Mankind, I didn't like Triple H. I learned later that Triple H was awesome, but I didn't understand that when I was a kid. And Triple H beat like Jeff Hardy or someone that I really liked. Jeff Hardy was my favorite wrestler when I was a kid. So Triple H beat Jeff Hardy and it pissed me off because I'm like, Jeff Hardy's the good guy. This was like the first match that I've seen where like a heel won. So I'm like, what the hell? Jeff Hardy's the good guy. How come the bad guy won? And I'm like, oh, that's why wrestling's great. Because if I, the fan, got what I wanted, it would be shit. It would just be the good guy winning again and again. Now replace the good guy winning again and again with the person the smarks like winning again and again and again. Right? Especially considering that smarks are fickle bastards who will switch like this. First of all, everyone's behind Rollins. Oh, Rollins is so over. They turned on him. Right? Same thing. Roman Reigns came back from cancer. Everyone was excited. Now nobody gives a shit. John Cena comes back. Everyone is happy now. Brock Lesnar, they turned on him. Remember when the smarks used to love Brock Lesnar, motherfuckers? Exactly. Same thing's going to happen with Becky Lynch and The Fiend and even Daniel Bryan eventually, fuckers. That's how it's going to go. So the fans are to blame for the majority of the problems and of course, the wrestling companies that are catering to the fans. Oh, I think Scorpio Sky has what it takes to be AEW champion. And then like stupid ass CodyRhodes is like, yeah, let's give this guy a push. Like, what the fuck, man? Scorpio Sky is put in my list of jobber wrestlers along with Mustafa Ali, Cedric Alexander, Buddy Murphy, those guys. He's on that level, man. Like, if they fire Scorpio Sky tomorrow and they plug in Buddy Murphy in that same exact slot, no one would notice, no one would care, and people would be like, oh, Buddy Murphy deserves a title shot. He is an inconsequential talent, and the fans have ruined everything with this attitude of what I think is best should be what the company does. That like this is out of touch because he doesn't do what I want. Imagine a child being like, well, I don't want Eddie Guerrero to win. He cheats. I want him to lose to Mr. Anderson. No, motherfuckers. Eddie Guerrero is going to win because Eddie Guerrero is a superior wrestler and nobody wants to see Mr. Anderson. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there is a reason why there's a creative team behind this. There is supposed to be a logic behind it. When the fans start voicing their opinions and expect to be heard, this is when things just go out of whack. Imagine doing this with any other kind of show. You know what I mean? And this has permeated culture at large. I never watched Game of Thrones because I'm not into wizards and dragons and elves and all that shit, but I hear it's a good show. And a lot of people apparently were upset at how it ended. I don't know how it ended, nor do I really give a rat's ass, but they were upset at how it ended. And one of my friends sat me down and started telling me why he was upset at how it ended. And I told him, I was like, what the hell? Who are you to have a say in how the show ends? Someone conceived this, put it there in front of you, and you watched it, you liked it, and then you're like, oh, it didn't end how I wanted it to end. Well, how about you go fuck yourself? How about that? It didn't end how I wanted it to end. It's not supposed to end how you want it to end. It's supposed to end how it ends. Spoiler alert, motherfuckers. Sons of Anarchy, one of my favorite shows. Spoiler alert. For all those of you that haven't seen it, I would skip about 20 seconds. Jax dies in the end. A lot of people didn't want Jax to die. I like Jax too, but I understood I saw where the show was going, and I understood what the point of the show was, that Jax had to die. It's no different with wrestling, right? The bad guy has to win, so eventually the good guy wins and gets the payoff. When the fans interject their stupid ass opinions, which is like the opinion of someone that doesn't understand marketing and entertainment, and they're like, well, why is Brock Lesnar champion? I want Daniel Bryan to beat him because Daniel Bryan is not the same species as Brock Lesnar, and it is preposterous. And most of us look at that and think this is so stupid. But I digress. We're coming to a point very similar to that one at the very end. I left that one for number 1 because that's the worst thing ever for wrestling, and I'll get to it. But hold on, it doesn't involve Daniel Bryan or Brock Lesnar, but something similar. Next up, reason number 6. Seth Rollins, not reason, the 6th worst thing in wrestling right now. Seth Rollins, period, motherfuckers. This guy is a mid-carder again. He is the ultimate syndrome. He's great in the ring. I enjoy Seth Rollins and his matches because he does some really cool moves, like the little Falcon Arrow superplex thing he does. I love that. But he is basically a twat. There was a picture I saw. I don't know why I even look at these things, but on WWE.com, there was one of those like, oh, here's like the 25 best Instagram pics of this week or something. So I don't know why I clicked on it, and I did. Number 13 was Seth Rollins, right, wearing a bathing suit, and he had those little, those little floaty things you put on your arms when you were a kid because you can't swim. He had those on, right? And this is the fucking Universal Champion, man. At that time, I think it was, or even if it wasn't, he just lost the title. This is a guy that was in one of the main matches at WrestleMania, and he's wearing floaties. We all know how I feel about ironic things, motherfuckers. There's a time and a place. And the idea of like, oh, I'm supposed to be this alpha male guy, but look, I'm wearing floaties. Tee, isn't that great? No, it's not fucking great. And furthermore, it doesn't work because you're not an alpha male guy. You are a loser. Right? Seth Rollins is a loser, man. This guy just loses all his matches that matter, right? I don't think he's ever gonna have a WrestleMania moment like that ever again in his career. It's not meant to be, man. This guy, like, he'll have like a Randy Orton-esque career. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like his ceiling, in my opinion. Period. But there is a big problem with Seth Rollins being pushed down my throat specifically as this like main eventer when I can just by looking at him I can tell this guy is a good mid-carder. If this were 2005, he'd probably be feuding with Chavo Guerrero for the Cruiserweight title. Let's be honest, motherfuckers. And no shame in that. Chavo Guerrero was great. Reason 5, motherfuckers. Cody Rhodes' existence. That's the 5th worst thing in wrestling right now. Cody Rhodes has ruined everything. I heard recently that either the next or an upcoming AEW pay-per-view will be called AEW Bash at the Beach. All right, this is the last fucking straw. You're not WCW. For those of you that don't know, Bash at the Beach was a WCW pay-per-view they did, I think, every year, right? And I think there's some sort of connection, like Dusty Rhodes came up with a name or some bullshit like that, right? So the spirit of Dusty Rhodes, they won't let this poor bastard rest, man. He's dead. Leave him alone. You know what I mean? This entire theory of like Dusty Rhodes came up with this. Let's continue to honor his legacy for the 50th time in the last year. Jesus Christ, everything's about Dusty Rhodes. How about create your own identity, man? You cannot do this. This is the exact same problem that TNA had when TNA started losing its own identity, which was built on a 6-sided ring with the X division and moves that you had never seen before, motherfuckers. The reason why I started liking TNA back in the day, and TNA for a long time was my favorite wrestling show in the world. And there was a match that I saw. It was on like free cable, like on demand, but for free to like promote it. That's how I learned that it even existed. It was this like 20-man like gauntlet type match, like almost like a battle royal, but with like gauntlet-esque rules, and the last 2 guys have to pin each other. And I remember I saw Sanjay Dutt. He came in and he did like not a springboard Hurricanrana, but he did like almost like one of those like flips over the top rope, and he turned that into a Hurricanrana. And I was like, holy shit, this is like their jobber. And their jobbers doing these amazing moves. This company's awesome. You know what I mean? And then I saw, oh, Jeff Jarrett. That's cool. Oh, shit, Road Dogg. Oh, there goes K-Quick, who now is R-Truth. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, right? So TNA had an identity of like, we are different from WWE. They have 4-sided ring. We have a 6-sided ring. You know, they have like 7,000 titles. We have just 3: the world title, the tag title, and the X Division title, which was their secret sauce, if you will, right? It was their differentiator, where people were like, oh shit, like we don't have this anywhere else. Like no weight limits. It's basically like a cruiserweight title, but treated as a mid-card title, right? Because anyone could theoretically become X Division champion. Then eventually they changed that rule and they made it so like which was the dumbest thing ever. They made it so there was like a weight limit on the X Division title. It was like 200 205 pounds or 220 pounds, whatever it was. That's the antithesis of the X division. They switched it back to 4 sides, and they started hiring people like Hogan. Now, I like Hogan, and I'm not going to attribute the fall of the company to Hogan specifically, but it's that change of culture where Hulk Hogan said, he's like the fans were chanting, "We want 6 sides," and Hogan's like, "6 sides got you nowhere. It's time to like move up," right? And I'm like, oh shit, that's kind of cool. But at the same time, TNA lost its identity, and the same thing is happening to AEW. Within 2 months, motherfuckers, everyone that's worth watching there, everyone that's presented as like a star is a former WWE guy, with the exception of Kenny Omega. That's it. Everybody else is a WWE guy. Pac, WWE guy. Ambrose, WWE guy. Jericho, of course, WWE guy. Swagger, WWE guy. Even Goldust is now like a big deal, and Ty Dillinger as well. They're big deals. They already started by conflating their identity with that of like WWE rejects, and now, nail in the coffin, motherfucker, CodyRhodes has decided to call, this is all CodyRhodes' fault, by the way, he has decided to name the pay-per-view Bash at the Beach. And you might as well just call it, "We want to beat WCW." It's the dumbest thing ever. Anyways, the fourth worst thing in wrestling today, motherfuckers, a lack of storylines all throughout. I touched on this a little bit earlier in this video when I started saying that SmackDown, nothing happened. Bray Wyatt attacked Daniel Bryan, and that's it. Everything else was just a non-storyline to go into this larger storyline that will be irrelevant by Monday. By Monday, no one will care about the NXT invasion. This storyline is dying after Survivor Series, and therefore, it's not a good storyline. Now, a storyline can end after pay-per-view. As a matter of fact, it should end after pay-per-view, but only if there is a resolution. As a matter of fact, storylines should not be attempted unless there is a clear resolution point in the end. The resolution point can be something as simple as JBL defends his title against the Big Show, and then he has to go on with his next challenger. But the way it's presented is that NXT is pissed off that they're considered the C brand. So they're doing an invasion. If NXT wins, which I don't think they will, I think it's going to probably be SmackDown, just because, like, you know, SmackDown and Fox. But if NXT wins, right, then NXT will, one could argue that they've laid claim that they're the A show, but they will not be treated as the A show. They're not going to be in pay-per-views all the time. They might have like one match at the pay-per-view. So the point is, it doesn't fucking matter. Unless NXT wins, it's a complete waste, and their storyline made no sense. And if NXT wins, it's also a waste because it'll lead to nothing. So that's a perfect example of how there's no storylines at all. In WWE right now, there's arguably 0 storylines. You can maybe like the Brock Lesnar and Rey Mysterio storyline, that's it. Daniel Bryan thing with The Fiend is not a storyline, and I honestly cannot think of even one storyline that's happening right now in WWE. The NXT title match is just like a random match. There's no feud between Adam Cole and one of the 3 guys that he's going to wrestle. There's all the other matches are like inter-brand matches, so it's a complete, like, I'm going to enjoy it because I like Survivor Series. I like the type of matches, especially now there's going to be 3 teams of 5 motherfuckers. But, you know, as far as storylines go, it's piss poor. AEW has no storylines whatsoever. 0 storylines. I can't even think of one. What's the storyline? Like what, Jericho versus Scorpio Sky? They're going to have a match? That's not a storyline. Fucking Dean Ambrose is still pissed off. Kenny Omega is still a loser. Nothing's happened. Like, in 8 weeks, nothing has happened in AEW, man. If someone were to pull you on the street and say, "Excuse me, I heard about this company called AEW that's been around for like 8 or 7 weeks, whatever. Can you tell me what's happened so far? What's happened in fucking, 8 times 2, 16 hours of television?" Here's what you would say. You would say this. Jericho became the first champion. SCU became the tag champions. Rio became the women's champion, and then everyone else is just running around jerking each other off while Jericho defends his title against Cody Rhodes. That's it. That's all that's happened in 2 months in this entire company. And while this may be forgivable for a New Japan or a WWE, because this is the first 2 months of this company, you expect them to go, full gear, motherfuckers. You expect them to go hard and to establish themselves as a story-driven company. That's what WWE lacks. That's the niche they should fill. If there was storylines, like legitimate storylines, I would be all about AEW. I might even tolerate the existence of the people like Sammy Guevara if he was part of a legitimate storyline. Not a storyline like, oh, Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford are now a couple. Hasn't this never been done before? Shut the fuck up. Get out of here with that nonsense. All right. Now we're getting to the top 3 reasons, which I think are the most important ones. The reasons 4 through 10, they could kind of go in any order, but reasons 3, 2, and 1 definitely have to go in this order. The third worst thing about wrestling today is the fake women's revolution, which I personally find borderline offensive to women in general. This is not just a WWE problem, but I'm talking specifically about the WWE women's revolution at this point. This idea that somehow Becky Lynch deserves to be in the main event of WrestleMania is preposterous. It's even worse than Kofi Kingston being champion. This is ridiculous. That was easily the worst main event match in the history of WrestleMania, right? Even when the main event match was like Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam Bigelow, right? Even if you consider that like a real main event for WrestleMania, you know what I'm saying? Even that, it's like it has a draw. It has a mainstream appeal. This had none of that. This was just who's the best female wrestler in the world. Why would I care about that when we have to establish who the best male wrestler in the world is, since wrestling has historically been a male-dominated sport where more men gravitate towards it. It's just like when Shayna Baszler had her little vignette and she's like, at one point, I was ranked in the top 10 of MMA. And I'm like, no, fam. No. Let's digest that for a bit. You were ranked top 10 out of like 10 women. You were ranked like 9th out of 10 women. There was like 10 women that were even doing the sport, and she's like, I was ranked. Yet, if I invent my own sport, I can be the champion tomorrow. It's kind of like that. You need time to establish a sport so that the alpha athletes can go towards that sport. That's why boxing has like incredible athletes. Like the level of athleticism of a pro boxer and a UFC guy is completely different. It's a different level completely. A lot of people don't understand this because they've never been in a ring, but it is completely different. Now, not to say that UFC guys are not athletes. Of course they are. But you understand what I'm saying. So with that same logic, if you enter that into kayfabe, there is no reason why finding out who the best female wrestler is should take precedence over finding out who the best male wrestler is, or take precedence over finding out who the Intercontinental title winner is going to be, right? A title that's been around for way longer and has been relevant for way longer than like these two new jabroni titles that they have for the women. And furthermore, the fact that it's forced, if this was an organic movement where people were like, I really want to see this, I'd be all about it, man. TNA knockouts back in the day, it was awesome. Some of the best women's wrestling I've ever seen. Gail Kim versus Awesome Kong. Amazing matches, you know. I didn't even give a shit who won. I loved Awesome Kong, but I wouldn't even care if Gail Kim beat her because whatever, man. Gail Kim's awesome, you know. And they were actually promoting the division correctly. TNA hadn't had a women's division for a long time, and they're like, all right, we're going to do one, and we're going to do it right. They hired like so many women, and they integrated them very quickly into storylines and gimmicks. The beautiful people who just started out as two broads in like the tournament to determine the first women's champion quickly became a faction. And in my opinion, one of the greatest female factions in the history of wrestling. A faction that has been imitated by people like Michelle McCool and Layla, by fucking the other 7 incarnations of the beautiful people, by the Iconics, by fucking like arguably who else do they have? I forget, but you understand what I'm saying. It is a gimmick that's done to death, a Mean Girls gimmick. You know, it's something that, or even Absolution to a certain extent. It was a perfect gimmick, and it helped legitimize the women's wrestling of TNA because you wanted them to get their ass beat because they're these like annoying, like pseudo good looking broads. Velvet Sky was hot. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat that, right? And you would want to see someone eventually. You would want to see Awesome Kong just powerbomb these two broads and break them in half. But you know, it's a different time now. Now all the gimmicks are like, oh, Ruby Riott, isn't she weird because she has a different haircut? No, she sucks. So anyways, reason number 2, the second worst thing that's happening in wrestling today, and that is Orange Cassidy, motherfuckers. This guy is everything wrong with wrestling. I was on a video of some sort today on YouTube, and I saw this guy who said Hulk Hogan should never return to wrestling. And I'm thinking to myself, are you fucking kidding me? No, I'm not saying that I want to see a Hulk Hogan match right now. But get the fuck out of here, right? They kept saying Hulk Hogan has no business wrestling anymore. He's too old. And I'm like, dude, Hulk Hogan would still outdraw AEW, period. If you advertise Hulk Hogan as being in anything, it will gather 1 million viewers. 100%, motherfuckers. So that's what I'm saying about that. And whereas people like Orange Cassidy are promoted by the Smarks as this like awesome thing. It's not awesome. What's great about it, man? Why are people so obsessed with irony? Oh, he's wrestling but not taking it seriously. He's pretending that he's going to hurt him. Isn't this great? No, it's not fucking great. It's stupid, man. How can you laugh at this? This is like banana peel comedy. This is like the lowest form of comedy, and people are losing their minds. I understand the average IQ of a Smart is very, very low. You know, probably in the double digits. Not triple digits, motherfuckers, like the majority of us, but actually not the majority of us, I guess. But anyways, double digit IQ, probably around 70 IQ points or something like that, to laugh at this kind of nonsense. And finally, motherfuckers, the most important reason why wrestling sucks today, the worst thing that's happening in wrestling today that I'm going to encapsulate with one example, because it is the reason why I decided to make this video. At some point, I think last week, I don't watch TNA because I don't get like whatever, like Bozak Network, whatever the fuck they're on now. I don't get that shit. So, or maybe I do. I don't even know, to be honest. I don't know what channel they're on. But in Impact Wrestling, as part of the gauntlet match, motherfucks, Tessa Blanchard, that's right, bitches, Tessa Blanchard, Tully Blanchard's daughter, beat Brian Cage to become the #1 contender for the TNA title, which she will invariably win, if not at the match that she just earned, somewhere down the line. Now let's run it through, motherfuckers. TNA title, especially if you include the NWA title as it's like, you know, as its offshoot, if you will, right? This was held by some legitimate legends, right? Forget that, like, and I'm just saying only in TNA, in the history of TNA. Like, no one's saying, oh, Ric Flair held it, who gives a shit? But in the history of TNA, right? You had Jeff Jarrett, who love him or hate him, motherfuckers. He is a legend. Jeff Hardy, motherfuckers. Kurt Angle. Sting. You understand what you see where I'm going with this? Christian Cage. Some of the best wrestlers of their time held this title. And it actually had some prestige. AJ Styles, motherfuckers. A legitimate title with legitimate prestige. Sure, you had your shitty champions, but it was the title that was used to put a bullet point in Bully Ray's career. Do you understand me? You see where I'm going with this? There were people in TNA that didn't get a chance to hold the TNA title because presumably they were deemed unworthy of it. People like Jay Lethal, Kevin Nash, motherfuckers, you heard me. Kevin Nash, fucking Monty Brown, remember him? Who else? Booker T, probably the best wrestler to never hold that title that was there, right? Hulk Hogan was in the company and didn't make himself champion. Do you understand what I'm saying? The standard to be TNA champion was so high that it took someone like Samoa Joe, who was pushed as this unstoppable monster, a long time to get that title. Legitimate feuds have been had over that title. And now, Booker T couldn't become TNA champion, but Tessa Blanchard will become TNA champion, motherfuckers. This could be, in some parallel universe, justified if Tessa Blanchard were to defeat someone of the size of Kofi Kingston, or perhaps a Ricochet, or maybe S.A. Rios, or Brian Kendrick, someone like that. It would be, even then, she couldn't, but it would be plausible. It would be within the realm of preposterous thoughts. But she beat Brian Cage. For those that don't know, Brian Cage is a Brock Lesnar type motherfucker. Do you understand me? Brian Cage would tear apart like someone like Seth Rollins. No problem, man. In real life, Brian Cage would take Bray Wyatt and shove his mask up his ass. And Brian Cage, I saw the highlights of this match. She won with like a code red pin type situation. She basically was on him, and Brian Cage just took a back bump to flip her over. He did everything in this match. She was just there. I could have done everything she did with no training, motherfuckers. And she is so overly emotional. Her emoting is, and her like missing a chromosome face. You know, I won't sit here and be like she's an ugly broad, but her face is a little weird looking, motherfuckers. Let's be honest, right? And her face, she like the way that she sold Brian Cage kicking out as if she couldn't believe it. I can't believe Brian Cage, a man who's at least 280 pounds, kicked out of like my code breaker. How could this be? Are you fucking kidding me? The only way this match should end is Brian Cage, she gets in the ring, he clotheslines her and pins her 1, 2, 3. Doesn't even do a move on her, just clotheslines her once, pins are 1, 2, 3. It's kind of like, if anybody remembers this very obscure moment, the APA, Farouk and Bradshaw, were feuding with the Basham brothers on SmackDown. And Basham brothers, their gimmick at the time, this is before they joined the JBL as part of their cabinet, ironically. But their gimmick was that they were like these two submissives who had a dominatrix named Shaniqua. Shaniqua was this big, like, not big fat, but tall and strong woman. She won like Tough Enough, I think, right? She was awesome. I loved Shaniqua, and I loved this gimmick, right? And the story of this feud was that the Basham brothers were like these two, like, the implicit story was that the Basham brothers were these two, like, gimpish, I don't want to say beta males, but like submissives, right? Whereas the APA are two, like, alpha male, like, drink beer, smoke cigars, play poker type dudes that'll beat your ass. In real life and in the show, motherfuckers, you would not want to fuck with those two guys. So the idea was that APA could not stand to lose to this team of, like, different men that they don't like. This was not stated outright, but that was the idea. That was the point of the feud. They were upset that people like the Bashams exist almost, right? Like, what the fuck? Like, both Farouk and Bradshaw would look at them with, like, Shaniqua, like, what the hell is going on? You know, like, this is like a different, like, generational thing or something, right? And the Bashams kept beating APA, right? Just week after week. Like, they wouldn't win all the matches, but they would always get the upper hand. And the reason they would get the upper hand is because at some point, Shaniqua would come in and, like, low blow Farouk or something, and the Bashams would hit, like, their finishing move, which, by the way, motherfuckers, was called the ball and gag, right? And this culminated with the APA beating the Bashams, and then Shaniqua came up, and she was standing up to, like, Farouk and Bradshaw, who are, of course, two monsters of humans. And Shaniqua would destroy Tessa Blanchard. And she's standing up to Bradshaw, right? And she tries to, like, punk him out. And you know what he does? He just clotheslines from Hillser right there. And that's it. That was the end of the feud. And I'm pretty sure that was the end of her career, motherfuckers. As it should be. Because you can be a big, strong woman, right? And maybe if you're, like, the strongest woman ever, if you're like Shaniqua with, like, intense, if you're Ann Wolfe, anybody doesn't know who Ann Wolfe is, I suggest you look her up. Go on YouTube and search Ann Wolfe knockout. Right? If you're Ann Wolfe, you can probably beat up, like, a below average to an average guy, right? And she's like a famous boxer, right? But even then, Ann Wolfe cannot beat up someone like John Cena, right? Oh, but Ann Wolfe is trained. Doesn't matter, motherfuckers. There's a point where strength takes over. So with this in mind, right? Someone like Ann Wolfe could destroy Tessa Blanchard, but she could not destroy Farouk and Bradshaw. That would be preposterous. But Brian Cage, who is bigger than Farouk and Bradshaw, lost to a smaller woman. The standards have never been lower. This is ridiculous. And before anybody, oh, that's kind of sexist. No, it's not sexist, motherfuckers. This is the truth. Like, the fact that Tessa Blanchard can become TNA champion means that I can become TNA champion. Means that Lars, my fan Lars, can become TNA champion. That's what it means, motherfuckers. It means that normal people like me and you can go on and become TNA champion, because everybody can become TNA champion if a 110-pound girl can beat a 280-pound male clean. It is ridiculous. So with that being said, motherfuckers, things to look forward to. I might do another video just now. I had another topic in mind. And then if I don't, fuckers, look forward to possibly tomorrow a War Games review, motherfuckers. I'm looking forward to that. And then Monday at some point, I'm going to have a lot of work on Monday, and Sunday I'll be out of town. But I am really looking forward to Survivor Series for the matches, and I'm going to do a nice review on that. Hopefully it doesn't suck. But I guess if it sucks, my review will probably be better. So thanks for watching, motherfuckers, and go fuck yourselves!